Though we aren't aware of it, implicit bias affects our behavior on a day-to-day basis, referring to unconscious attitudes or stereotypes, and can lead to unintentional decisions and actions. Washington State University researcher Lois James was determined to make a change within society's implicit bias, beginning at a notable root: police departments.
This has always been an area of great interest for me. My dissertation research was on the influences, the things that motivate officers as they make decisions. And from that research that's been ongoing for a long time now, we developed a implicit bias training program. Our main variable of interest that we were looking at was actually body camera footage. So for that, I mean, once the department was on board, we were just kind of given access to their body camera footage. So it's not like, an individual officer would say, yes, I want to be part of the study, or no, I don't want to be part of the study, because body camera footage is in fact discoverable.
This particular study took place in Sacramento with the police department there. However, James has had WSU departments in Spokane and Pullman both reach out in interest in the implicit bias training involved in this study, and she hopes to expand these studies into more local regions, including Spokane and Pullman.
I mean, Spokane would be a great test of how officers interact, for example, with community members suffering homelessness. There we would see a great deal of diversity and be able to really kind of dig in. But in terms of, we have much more limited racial and ethnic diversity. We have, much more limited LGBTQ plus diversity compared to a bigger city like Sacramento.
After receiving a grant to fund the study, the entire process took off.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to teach officers, okay, what are the things that make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up? When I engage in this scenario and I engage with this community member in this simulated safe setting, right, where somebody can make mistakes, if I'm worried, if I'm anxious, if I feel like something isn't going well, can I articulate, okay, well, why is that?
Compared to the control group, the anti-bias trained officers' behavior towards homeless people, in particular, showed modest improvement. The trained officers also had 50% fewer discrimination complaints overall, though these were low at the start, with 21 and 11 after the training.
And often we would see the officers that kind of came into the training really feeling like, well, this is dumb and I don't need to be here, and so on and so forth. Sometimes they're the ones that actually seemed like they changed the most across the course of the training days.
James and her team are now working to develop simulation scenarios at this time, but will be available to nurses in Spokane in a study taking place late 2024.
The next big one that's ongoing, we've been funded. We just recently were funded to develop CBT Sim, which is the counter bias training simulation, which is the training that we evaluated. We've been funded to develop that for healthcare.
This was the first study to show some sort of positive behavioral impact from an implicit bias training program. While this is encouraging, James urges that there is still a great deal of work to be done, as the social climate has changed since this study took place around the time of George Floyd's murder and COVID.
This is work that we need to do. We need to really be mindful of what are things that could influence me, could influence me outside of my conscious awareness, that could potentially lead me to discriminate